Welcome to Projects for All. My name's Mike, and today we've got Evolution's brand spanking new table saw. They sent this to me for free so I can show it to you guys. This table saw has so many features and so many innovative things about it that if the quality is good, it has the potential to be one of the best table saws we've ever checked out on this channel. So we got the stand, we got the saw, we got a fine woodworking blade. This has the multi-material blade in it. We got a lot to do in this one, so let's get it out of the box. We'll put the stand together. If you don't want to see that, check the chapters and you can skip right to the review of the saw. Real quick before we get started, Evolution has set up a promo just for you guys. If you put the word projects in at checkout when you buy one of these saws off Evolution's website, they'll throw in a free fine woodworking blade. If you want to see me chop up all this crazy stuff, stick around to the end. This is 3-year warranty. It's a 10-inch saw. It has a 5/8 arbor, which is something everyone in the United States at least is going to be excited about. The multi-material blades and the fine woodworking blade are 1-inch arbor, so there's an adapter, but the arbor itself is 5/8. You can use any blade you want with this thing. On the website right now is $480, and that puts it below a lot of the premium saw prices. Got our owner's manual, big old box of accessories. Got a new style blade guard on this one. Kickback paw, dust elbow, 45. Got our push stick, various knobs and such. We got our clamp. A clamp, you say, with the table saw? Yup, there's a clamp with this table saw. And it goes in conjunction with this miter gauge, which has a fence. Very cool looking miter gauge. Metal throat plate. Got our rear outfeed support. There's our fence. Industry standard. 3-position rack and pinion fence system. Our knob for our rack and pinion fence. These plastic parts feel like nice plastic. Evolution does a pretty good job with their plastic, I think. Should be good. This is a little bit of an odd one. Got a screw and a knob. Drop that down in there. And just hold that nut in and screw this knob down. And give us a little cover for the outside. Last up, we got our rear outfeed. There it is. Comes with these little plastic clips that fit on the tubes to lock it in so you can't pull it all the way out. We got one for each side. It's got a knob on either side so we can lock our outfeed. And we are assembled. Again, with the good packaging. Looks like Evolution has stepped up their instruction game by a lot. I don't know if you saw that first video, but got our hardware kit. Nice rubber tires. Some softer tread. They actually feel like tires. Looks nice. I really like the layout. This is the nicest packed stand I think I've ever seen, to be honest with you. Should make it relatively easy to put together. Beautiful. Step 1, got your hoop. It's got a pin on the end. These two here with the axles. This one's got the latch on it. That side, the one with the bend, axle, this side. You got 8 of these. Plastic spacer in there is gonna go between the tubes. And a 13 mm nut. Gonna go in there. Probably see it right there. That's where we're headed. These are all nylon nuts, and I'm just gonna hand tighten these as tight as I can make them. I've put together a lot of these, a lot. In fact, I've put together a lot of stuff in the last 3 years doing this channel. Evolution went from literally the worst instructions in the industry to arguably the best. I took one glance at these and I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. You get this spreader. That's gonna go in like so. And then we got these machine screws here. They're Phillips. These are just gonna go through the side here. There's your 2 holes. It's just gonna go right through there. All right, we got our straight spreader. 2 of these little machine screws with no washers. They're gonna go in this hole here and that one over there. Make sure when you do this, that this is above here. This pin's gotta contact this latch. So we're gonna flip this around, like so. The instructions show putting this weird foot on. Mine came with it on there. So you got this one, this odd bent tube. It's gonna be on this side here. This one with one bend is gonna be on this side. This is gonna install on the closest hole here. Square hole right in the middle of the tube. spacer right into the hole right on the side here. This is not awkward, it's just awkward because I'm trying to stay out of the camera. Then we've got one more spreader. These spreaders are the same, by the way. I should have mentioned that when we did the first one. And it's gonna go on just the same way. Same screw with the washer, machine screw. I'm gonna remove the screw so we can take this shoe off here. Foot or whatever we're gonna call it. There we go. Just so you can have a look at it. You got two screws. One goes through a hole here, but both screws are gonna go through the end of this tube here. Big U, you got one hole on this side, two holes on that side. The two holes are for this. The one big hole, this is gonna go through, it looks like. I'm gonna fit this on here so the one hole lines up, or actually two holes. I took the wing nut off the top of this. We're just gonna take this and put it through the hole from the bottom, and that's our foot. We'll spin the wing nut down. This gives you a tool-free way to adjust the height of this foot. We're gonna worry about the height of it once we get it on the floor. This side, I have all my holes lined up in my tubes. These little screws here, they're coarse thread because they're gonna get screwed into plastic, I'm sure. I can't see what the other side of that is because I didn't take this totally apart, but you don't have to. These are the only things I've tightened completely so far. Let's throw our wheels on real fast. Simple enough, 13 mil. This is all we got left. We're gonna attach the little ones to the end of these. It's a little tough because these aren't marked, even though they have different numbers. Which one is which? I do believe this handle is gonna be facing this way. If that's flat, that bolt's flat. All this hardware is different enough to where it's easy to pick out what's what. So we'll just attach these together. And when we go to attach them to the rest of it, I will immediately know if I'm right or wrong, and we can easily switch it. It's not that big of a deal. All right, we're gonna install this with it pitched out like that. We got the hoop on this side, the wheels on that side. We're just gonna turn it. This hole here, it's gonna go through that hole. This hole here, that hole right there on the end. This one on the inside, this one on the outside. Spacer. We're gonna lift this up, and we'll just lift until they align. There we go. Nobody's really reinventing the wheel when it comes to these stands, but the instructions on this one make this probably the fastest, easiest one I've put together. Although I have put together quite a few for the past few years. There we go. It's gonna latch on that bolt there. So there's our stand. Press our pedal. Unfold, and it relatches. Perfect. What I'm gonna do is tighten every single bolt that I've put in so far, because I've tightened almost none of them, and we'll get it on the floor, we'll get the saw on it. Before you tighten anything down, just know these are your sizes here for all the nuts on this thing. You can use this to hold or tighten them down. Don't over tighten anything. Don't forget all these things have to move and twist against each other. Very nice. We got 4 holes left on the top of this. Let's grab our saw. There's our holes for attaching our saw to our frame. We're going to use these 4 bolts here. You can use your included Allen key and the open-ended part here. You can basically tighten anything on this saw that might come loose with the included tools that you always have with you. Makes total sense. I'm really starting to get the impression that Evolution put a lot of thought into this. All right, let's start on the front like we always do. On-off switch, you got nice red paddle for off, on. You got a reset switch on the top here for your motor. On the side here, there's a hole, so if you're gonna put this in a school, or you have an orange cat at home that you do not trust, you can lock this thing down. Height control here, this is down, this is up. This, well, let's start here. You got a lever back here, push it down, and that releases your bevel control. You have little teeth up here, and teeth cut into this little plastic housing on the back of this shaft here. And as you turn this, the teeth ride in these right here. And that is your bevel control. It works absolutely perfect. In fact, if I set it for, let's say, 15, and I go to lock this, there is 0 movement. It doesn't move a muscle. Right where I left it is where it locks down. This is an awesome, awesome design, and I love it. The old Evolution saw had a similar design. However, this whole mechanism would push in and that would mesh the teeth together, and then you would turn it. And it was a little awkward and cumbersome, and this is a better design. I'm impressed. Nice easy to read scale for your bevel. Nice big red pointer. Got some info on the front here. 10 inch, 1 inch or 5/8 arbor, 51 pounds on this saw. The stand for this weighs 15 pounds, so you're like 66 pounds on the whole thing. That is very manageable. Here's your stop at 45, but the one at 0 is the same. Allen screw turns, just a little cam wheel on the back, and that contacts with your bevel adjustment to stop at 45. Over on the right side here, we have the release for your rack and pinion fence. You got a quick adjust knob here, or you could just grab it and slide it over. Locks down secure. The push stick is right in the front here. Standard push stick, standard position. I wish it was a little more secure. It doesn't really grab it tight, but it has a little bit of a detent to it, so I don't think it's gonna fall out of there. It's just kind of floppy. Almost nothing going on the right side of your saw. You got carry handle here, nice and rubberized. Got a handle here, so there's gonna be a corresponding one on the other side if you wanna lift it by the top. And you have a little knob here. Little knob is for releasing your rear outfeed support. There's a corresponding one on the other side too, we'll see in a second. Not much going on the back either. You got obviously your dust port, 2.5 inches, standard stuff. You have your miter gauge, fit into a slot here and a bracket up here that holds it in. Little miter gauge, just fits right in there and clips down. It's tucked in pretty tight. Rear outfeed support, made of sheet metal, and it's got relief cuts, so you can see your sled here. We're gonna look at it in a minute, and this side for your miter slot. Also in the back here, look what we got there. This is a tool-free way to adjust your blade parallel to your fence, to your miter slot really. Loosening the wing nut, turning this, we're gonna test this. This, if it becomes the new industry standard, is as good as it gets as far as a table saw adjustment on the fly. I love that that's there. Here on the left side of the saw, there's all kinds of stuff going on. You've got your safety equipment here. Blade guard, riving knife, kickback pawl, all together, all secured up here, sits in metal bracket right here, and there's a knob that secures the riving knife. I thought about this for a while, and I'm gonna not voice my strong opinion on this with this saw because the riving knife and the blade guard are separate pieces. All of this can be disconnected. This is 3 separate pieces. I'll tell you that if I keep this saw as my personal saw, which I may because I really like a lot of what I see, I will probably buy a replacement riving knife so I can have that in the saw, and when I want to use the blade guard, I can flop them. And I can just put the riving knife and secure it here when this is in the saw. So you could probably figure out where I stand as far as it goes when I say that, but the fact that to store this, I have to have it connected to this under the saw is not my favorite thing. It's not a bad design, but it's not my favorite thing. There's your bracket here that was sitting on. Here's your wrenches. They just slide in from the front here. These are accessible even when all your safety equipment is here. We have the other knob for our rear outfeed right here. And we have our cord keeper, which is keeping the cord right now, but is a little bit small. And I have a feeling that if I jostle this thing too much while it's in the standing position, this is gonna be dangling on the floor. I would have liked to have seen a little bit bigger cord keeper. They have enough space under here. There's no reason why it's just barely hanging onto this cord. Looks to be about 9 feet of cord though. That's pretty long and that's good. It's got a cat hair on it. Not going to waste a lot of time on this fence and rail system because it's all the same industry standard stuff we see on every saw now. That isn't a bad thing. I'm not criticizing it because if it works, it works. 3 positions, cutting on the left side of your blade. This is the position for your fence that gets you all the way to 0. This one here is 4 inches apart from the 0 spot, and this will get you 4 extra inches for a measured total of 25 3/4 full right side rip. The fence itself has just the regular plastic brackets here that fit on the rails. Locks down with these clips, same as all of them. Nice and secure. Your aux fence is on the back side here. It releases and flips around. 2 positions, same as all of them. Bottom spot here gets you flush with your table. So if you have this stretched way out, you can use this as a support. Move it up one, and now you have a little mini fence here. So if you need some extra space for a really small stock, or you're going to use your push stick with your blade guard and you need the space, we got a very nice metal throat plate. It's got a latch right here. Then you just pull up. Mine's a little sticky, but I'm sure it'll wear in it. You can get it out there just fine. There are no support ribs or anything on this because this is 14 gauge sheet metal here, and it's thick and it's actually pretty heavy for its size. So very, very nice quality on this. I'm impressed, like real impressed. We got 4 Allen head screws right here for adjusting the height of our plate. There's 2 in the front, 2 in the back here, 1 there and 1 there. There's your arbor bolt down here. No BS. Full-size long arbor bolt. This saw will take a full 13/16 dado, just like it should, except the plate is not available for another few weeks. This saw literally came out last week, so keep an eye out for that. I'll put it on the channel in the description when I get more info. Just because your saw is from Europe doesn't mean you gotta have a weird arbor bolt on it. We got some short little wrenches with this one, so let's see how this plays out. We got our open-ended on the inside. There's not a lot of space back here, so you gotta kind of watch for it. Flip our riving knife lever up. Out comes our blade. I've used quite a few of these blades now. This blade is excellent. It's going to cut everything like freaking butter and be shockingly cool. But we're gonna find out for sure because we're gonna cut a ton of stuff, including metal with this. These blades will cut plastic, aluminum, steel, wood, hardwood, softwood, wood with nails in it. It's absolutely ridiculous what they accomplished with these blades. It's made in Japan, I'm sure. I can't find it. Yeah, right there. Good quality stuff. Arbor washer. I don't even bother putting this magnet back in the toolbox anymore. There's our nut. Our back washer here has a lip on it, so that's how our 1-inch arbor blades fit. It does, however, include this one, which is flat, which you can throw in there, and you can use any 5/8 blade you want. If you're in the US market, that's pretty much all of them. We're gonna stick with the 1-inchers in this video because we have the fine woodworking blade we can toss in here. We're gonna check that out too, because why not? Make sure we're sitting on our back washer right. Good to go. As usual, I forget to flip that down. Last up on the walk around, we got this crazy miter gauge. Evolution really likes their crazy miter gauges because this is a very, very similar design to the last one. We got 3/4 standard miter slots, so you can use any gauge you want. You don't have to use this thing if you don't want to. It's got a nice scale on it. It's got a plastic adjustable pointer. It has this little fence that you can easily remove if you want to without any tools here, or you could attach something else to it. The hole here with this knob is for the clamp, which I'll show you. And then you have that spring-loaded little bolt on the back here. And there's a threaded hole right on the front here. We can screw the miter gauge down to the actual table itself. You don't have to do this. You can just slide it in the slot if you want to. And now it is attached to our saw, and there's a little knob we can pull. And oh, look at that. So this whole sled, this section of table rides on these probably Delrin, and there's some grease involved here. I have a slight concern about the amount of grease and, you know, sawdust and metal chips, because you can cut metal with this, but you can move your fence over and basically set this up any way you would like. Here's our clamp. It's just a basic clamp. It's got quick up and down on the shaft here. because it's got a long screw on this side, and that'll fit right in there. I think this would be especially useful cutting metal. If you're gonna cut a lot of metal with this, sheet metal up to an 1/8 inch plate, and you have a nice way to hold it down. I was very curious on whether or not they would include this. This is a throwback from the old style saw that we have on the channel that was not a big hit with me, but they brought back all the coolest stuff of that saw and got rid of all of its problems. So it would seem. Check our dimensions here real fast. 22 5/8 wide, just under 22 1/2, about 11 3/4 on our outfeed. Our outfeed total with the table, you're about 34 1/8. Tabletop to the floor is just a hair under 35 inches, which is a nice medium height. I think will accommodate most users comfortably. Full right side rip is 25 3/4, about 1 3/16 on our little auxiliary fence, about 3 3/16 tall on our actual fence, which is kind of tall. It's got this nice auxiliary rail here. You could feed something in from either side. Full up height on our blade is about 3 1/2 at 90 degrees, just a hair under 2 1/2 at 45 degrees. Master plate's installed. We got our woodpecker's saw gauge. I came dangerously close to getting to use this plate horizontally. We needed just another millimeter or two right there, but it is what it is. Job site saws almost never allow you to put this thing in the long way, which is 10 inches. So over a 6-inch span, we got our gauge set to 0. We slide it over, we're off by about 5 thou. We're gonna be able to use that ingenious way of adjusting this blade parallel to this slot. I loosened the wing nut for our adjustment and we got a little worse, but it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna reach under here and turn that knob until we hit 0, which is just that easy. There's 0. Let me pull this back and let's see if we're still at 0 on the front. I'll pull this over. We're still at 0. I mean, within a thou. This gauge isn't that accurate. I was able to adjust this without any tools in about 10 seconds. You absolutely cannot beat that. Let's check our fence. This is the first position that brings your fence all the way to your blade. I have it set at 0 here. We're off by about 10 thou back there. Adjusting this is super simple. I'm gonna pop that. This is actually a bolt, so when I loosen this, I'll be able to move the fence back and forth. I left the other side attached so it won't move, so I can adjust this so I get the exact calibration I want. Just tighten this down, and there you go. I'm gonna do this for all 3 positions, of course, so I know that no matter where I put my fence, it's gonna be dead nuts in line with my miter slot and my blade. So we got our 2-position riving knife. It is in the full up position. It's here. This is always hard for me to show you, but this riving knife is 100% adjusted perfect from the factory. I'm not gonna mess with it because it's gonna be worse if I loosen it. It will not be that straight. However, the riving knife adjustment is right here. 2 bolts, loosen these up. You can move your riving knife, tighten them back down. Simple, right on the top, no messing around. So how flat is this thing? Well, there's 8 thou. I'm gonna tell you that I was maybe not worried, but yeah, a little worried about how flat it would be with this moving section of table, because no doubt this will be the weak spot, and it is. We get 8 thou right here, a little bit on the actual table, but a little dip right in the middle there. But we are good to 8 thou across most of this thing, which shocks me, actually. Just get 8 thou right in here. In the back, we get 8 thou on the table right there, but the moving part of the table is actually flat back here. There's 6 thou. We get in right there. 6 thou just on the edge here, so 6 to 8 thou there. But we're flat even across this to 6 thou back here. That's crazy good. Let's check our stop at 90 and then we'll do a sound test and we're cutting. Zero it out. Pretty close. Check it at 45. 0.6 off on 45, so we'll do some adjusting, but should just take a second. We're about 30 inches from the blade to the microphone as usual. Should have soft start and electronic brake, so I'll let it run a full cycle. Super loud as they always are. We got our outfeed table. I'm gonna set it up behind this. We got our dust collector set up. We got a ton of stuff to cut in this one, and I'm skipping the pine. If it fails the pine test, you know it's not gonna fail the pine test. We've got 1/8 inch steel, 1/4 inch aluminum, PVC. We got an aluminum tube. We got a 1 inch piece of steel conduit, 2 by maple, 1 by red oak, 1 by hickory, underneath there that is seriously like a piece of concrete. I'm gonna run through this stuff fast. We're gonna do the multi-material blade first, and we're gonna cut all this stuff. And I'm gonna put the fine woodworking blade in at the end, and we'll get 3 more cuts on this stuff, and we'll do a comparison and see how much better the fine woodworking blade cuts than the multi-material blade. Don't forget, if you want one of these saws, put the word projects in as a promo code in Evolution's website when you buy one of these saws, and get a free fine woodworking blade. Yeah, we blew the fuse. I would call it a pretty big difference between the multi-material blade and the fine woodworking blade. You can see it a little bit more on some of these than others. There's maple up here. This is the fine down here. I got it squirrely. This was me right here feeding, but I thought I got a pretty smooth pass out of both of them after that. And the multi-material blade for sure chewed it up a little bit. But the fine woodworking blade really did a nice job. That's not a bad blade at all. In fact, it feeds smoother, as I'd expect. What do we think about this one? I like it. I like it a lot. There is almost every feature you need in a table saw in this table saw. It is not perfect. Nothing is perfect. Small cons. The stand, not super robust, but super lightweight. So I'm gonna call it a trade-off. This whole thing is about 65 pounds. I can lift it, no problem, into a vehicle, out of a vehicle, without killing myself. That's a huge advantage. The other thing that's just a little nitpick, the miter gauge bracket is plastic. It's already showing like it's wearing. It's not gonna be long before it's falling out of there and annoying me. Cord keeper is oddly small. These are very, very minor complaints. The one big thing, and something I didn't expect, I expected to have something negative, at least a little bit, to say about this sliding panel, because it's just setting itself up for not being flat, not being straight, getting stuff jammed in it. Really, no debris gets under there. Nothing is stuck to the grease yet, and it's working fine. However, the miter gauge, I struggled with the miter gauge. The miter gauge, on paper, is really cool. However, when you clamp it, the more you clamp it, it never really gets tight. It just pulls the gauge up off the table, everything flexes, it's plastic. I'm sure you lose your zero. So the clamp's fairly useless. What I would like to see, maybe for the next time around, is just a basic big miter gauge with indexable degrees cut into it. Just stamped basic sheet metal with some good precision cut into it. Even if the saw had to cost an extra 10, 20 bucks, you wouldn't have to go out and get another miter gauge to get something that you could really use with woodworking. The multi-material blade looked like a little bit of a disappointment in this one, but I will tell you, if you go and look at any of the multi-material bladed miter saws that I've done, and there's a bunch, and there's gonna be another one here soon, the miter saws, because you can clamp things down pretty hard, that multi-material blade cuts smooth and cuts almost everything. That in itself is a huge advantage. This fine woodworking blade, the one you get for free if you put the code in, this blade cuts beautifully. I'm impressed. Hardwood, no problem. So you guys tell me what you think, because in the end, that's all that really matters. Tell me what you think in the comments. Let me know if you would be interested in buying this and how you think it stacks up against some of the good stuff we've done, possibly the skill. Want to see that comparison video? Let me know in the comments, because we might be doing that. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'll see you in the next one.